Hi there, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynn and I pulled us a daily card today from the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck, and the card that came out is the Underworld. So when this card comes out, it means that something in your life is ending, changing, or asking to be understood at a much deeper level than before. The important thing to know is that this is not a bad card. It can feel heavy because it asks you to face what has been hidden, but its purpose is healing and transformation. So what Spirit is saying is go where you've been avoiding. There is something valuable waiting for you there. The underworld represents the unconscious mind, or buried emotions, or old wounds, grief, fear, shadow work, transformation, and death and rebirth, symbolically, not literally, okay? Kind of like imagine a cave beneath the earth. Most people spend their lives walking on the surface because it feels safe. But this card says that there's treasure beneath your feet, but you'll have to go into the darkness to find it. And the treasure might be your authentic self, or your confidence, or your intuition, your creativity, your peace, your freedom. Okay? The Spirit is basically asking you to stop running from uncomfortable emotions, not because suffering is good, but because emotions don't disappear when ignored. They just wait. So this card comes out when there are feelings you've been carrying for a long time. They could be sadness, anger, disappointment, shame, heartbreak, loneliness, fear. And what Spirit is saying is feel it instead of fighting it, okay? Don't rush to fix yourself. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to teach you? Because every emotion carries information. Like fear might be protecting you. Anger might be showing where your boundaries have been crossed. Grief might show what truly mattered. Loneliness might reveal what your heart genuinely needs. So instead of saying, I don't want to feel this, Spirit is saying, try asking what is underneath this, okay? Some of you are letting go of an old version of yourself. Maybe you're no longer the person you used to be. Maybe you've outgrown old relationships, or old beliefs, or old dreams, old identities. Spirit is saying, let yourself mourn who you were, because every rebirth requires a small death. Some of you are avoiding something. Maybe there's a conversation you've been putting off, or a truth you've known for months, or a feeling you've tried to distract yourself from. But this card is saying that the longer you avoid it, the louder it becomes. Some of you are healing old wounds. Sometimes this card isn't about what's happening today. It's about something much older. Your childhood, past relationships, old disappointments, family patterns, things you thought you had gotten over. Healing isn't always linear. Sometimes old feelings return because you're finally ready to process them more deeply. And every archetype has a shadow side, and the shadow side of the underworld is getting stuck there. So that can look like maybe replaying painful memories endlessly in your mind, identifying only with your wounds, believing you'll never change, isolating yourself, or assuming the worst. This card isn't saying stay in darkness forever. It's just saying visit it with purpose. Like entering that cave that I mentioned with a flashlight, not moving in permanently. The gift of the underworld is enormous. People who have gone into their own darkness often become wiser, calmer, more compassionate, more intuitive, less afraid of change, emotionally stronger, and more authentic. This card often appears before significant personal growth. It's uncomfortable because transformation usually is. If you're thinking about your life right now, then the message might sound like stop trying to be okay all the time, or stop pretending certain things don't hurt. Trust that what feels like an ending is making room for something more authentic. Your healing is happening underneath the surface, even if you can't see the results yet. If you're thinking about a relationship, then the underworld asks, what truth has been buried? It might be unspoken feelings or old resentments or a fear of vulnerability or repeating unhealthy relationship patterns. It encourages honesty rather than pretending everything is fine. If you're thinking about your work or your purpose, then this card can mean that the path you're on may no longer reflect who you're becoming. Rather than forcing clarity, spend time exploring what truly motivates you now. Sometimes uncertainty is part of discovering a more meaningful direction. If you're thinking about your spiritual growth, then this is one of the strongest spiritual cards in the deck. It says that real spirituality isn't only about peace and light. It's also about courage. The courage to meet every part of yourself, even the parts you'd rather hide. The underworld teaches that wholeness comes from integrating all aspects of yourself, not rejecting the difficult ones. So maybe start journaling about emotions you've been setting aside. Notice what situations trigger strong reactions in you and ask what they might be pointing toward. Spend some quiet time without constant distractions so deeper thoughts have room to surface. Allow yourself to grieve endings, even if they're subtle, like changing dreams or identities. Be gentle with yourself as you process these difficult emotions instead of expecting immediate clarity. What you fear facing may contain exactly what you need to reclaim. This card is less about predicting events and more about inviting a process. It suggests that by turning inward or turning toward what has been hidden, whether it's grief or fear, an old pattern, or an unspoken truth, you create the conditions for genuine transformation. Growth doesn't always happen in bright, visible moments. Sometimes it begins quietly beneath the surface where the deepest roots are forming. The message is less about doing and more about becoming. Spirit is saying, come home to yourself. Not the version of you that performs, not the version that tries to be chosen, not the version that is always given, the deepest, truest version of you. The underworld is the place where the masks come off. For some of you, your soul is shedding an old identity. This card can represent initiation. Initiation means you're crossing a threshold into a new phase of your life. The transition may feel uncertain because you're no longer who you were, but you haven't fully become who you're growing into. So you may notice you don't tolerate what you used to. Certain relationships or dynamics no longer feel right. You're craving more authenticity, even if it means making difficult changes. The invitation is to trust that growth sometimes begins before clarity arrives. Stop chasing and start receiving. Okay? Spirit may be asking, where are you trying to force something that's asking for patience instead? It could be love, validation, certainty, healing, recognition. But you don't have to prove your worth. Just create some space so you can receive what aligns with who you are becoming. There is a wound here asking to be loved. One of the deepest teachings of this card is that healing often involves meeting parts of yourself with compassion instead of trying to get rid of them. These are all invitations to greater self-understanding. Your intuition is trying to speak more clearly. You may sense a quiet inner knowing you can't fully explain. You may have repeated thoughts or themes. You may have dreams that linger. Or you may be experiencing emotional reactions that point to something deeper. The guidance isn't to accept every feeling as literal truth, but to become curious about what your inner experience may be communicating. Move from seeking external validation toward honoring your own values and needs. Have you been abandoning yourself to maintain peace or approval or connection? This card is encouraging you to notice places where your actions no longer match your deeper truth. This card isn't asking you to become someone new. It's asking you to remember who you are beneath the old fears and expectations and habits. Stop searching outside yourself for what is asking to grow within you. Trust your intuition. Honor your emotions without letting them define you. Release what no longer fits. The version of you emerging from this season is rooted in greater self-respect, authenticity, and inner wisdom. This card is asking you to descend into your inner world, not to remain there, but to return with a deeper understanding of yourself and a stronger connection to your own inner guidance. Okay? So that is our messages for today. Thank you so much for letting me channel these messages. I'm sending you lots of love and strength. Take good care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.